Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
And tonight we got a special guest, Alec with ASC Photos. What's going on, man?
Not much, man.
So,
not a whole lot.
So you reached out, and we've been checking you out on your photos and on the Instagram and the YouTube, which we'll put that in the show notes for anybody that wants to follow along. But you do looks like you're doing some awesome work, and we kind of run in the same circles.
Yeah.
So, what got you into the car obsession?
Oh man, it was. So I gotten the bug from my dad. He's been into cars ever since he was a kid too. He would actually get the models from the store, and I don't know how many he built, but this was like way back when he was a kid. So I don't know what happened to those models, but yeah, I basically got the bug from him.
Sweet. You went to the photo side. Do you have a car? Classic, newer? What's going on there?
I do. I have a 71 Chevelle.
Hell yeah.
That I'm working on finishing up.
All right. So tell us about that car, man.
So my dad bought it back in like the early 90s, back when those cars were basically worth nothing. But yeah, so my parents call it their firstborn because they had the car before me. And then I basically grew up in the front seat of that car in my booster seat. Very cool. My parents told me that, like, which I kind of remember this, but I would go, Daddy Chevy, and I'm like, whenever my parents tell that, I'm like, oh. But hey, it's part of my childhood. So what got me into it.
Are you rebuilding it or just kind of leaving it alone? What's the plan?
So I'm going to be doing the brakes and suspension here pretty shortly, hopefully early of this coming year. And then it needs to have the interior done and the convertible top done.
Oh, is it convertible?
I'm hoping that'll be done. Yep.
Hell yeah.
So I'm hoping to have that side of it done come maybe mid towards like the end of next year, but we'll see. I'm hoping.
Don't put a deadline on it, man. It makes it stressful and you kill yourself.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
My Model A was a deadline build and put me in the hospital. So,
oh no,
it's back home, and we're almost ready to start going forward on it again. So, with the show coming up, I was gonna try to make it be like a roller with the motor mounted, but
gotcha.
With everything else going on, man, being busy and stuff, and trying to get stuff together for that, I haven't really worked much on it. So we can completely understand on that whole don't put a deadline on it, because it does make it hard.
Yeah, and there's one thing that my dad told me. He's like, son, don't rush it.
Yeah.
Because that's a car you don't want to rush. So it's better just take my time, do it the right way rather than just kind of half-assing it.
Well, and that's another thing. Like, the Model A original plan was gonna be kind of more ratty. I don't know if you've checked out our cars. I don't know if you checked out either one of our cars, but they're more like grunge hot rods. So like her 54 is a all original car, paint wise.
Oh wow!
And then, but it's slammed on its ass, and that's cool.
Man.
And then the Model A's air ride front and rear, kind of the hood rat hot rod type build. But since I'm having to redo some stuff on it, I'm going to go through and actually do bead rolling on the interior and make it a little nicer, nicer example.
Yeah.
So what, unlimited budget, what car are you building? What's your favorite car out there?
Oh, man. If I were to build a car to sit alongside my current one, probably I would say a 55 or 57 Chevy.
Know where there's a couple of them at. And also, if you ever needed parts for a Tri-5, I got a guy.
Oh, man.
Which you actually follow him too. Brian from the Hometown Hot Rodder.
I do? Do I? I'll have to double check.
Yeah, it's a podcast that actually helped us get started. A lot of their followers come to us because they wanted to hear about car stuff.
Gotcha.
So it's a car podcast, but they do more fun.
Okay.
So they're more garage talk. So where we're more car with a little bit of funny, or try to be funny, they're more funny with a little bit of car. But I'm hoping he's going to make it to January 4th at Big Daddy Don Garlett's. We're doing our annual show. So you should come up.
We have to try and make it out there.
Yeah, man. Don't know. It's our first one, so we don't really know how big it's going to be, but we got some awesome food vendors, and I'm going to hang out and have a good time regardless. So,
yeah. Last time I was at the Garlett's Museum was when I was like a little kid.
It had been a while.
Last time I was there.
It had been a while since I had been there, and then I just reached out on a whim and was like, "Hey, we want to do a car show there," and they were really receptive, and
awesome.
The show benefits the Ryland Strong Network, so childhood cancer. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm all about it. Let's do it." And then Ashley had never been, so the day that we went up to sign paperwork, he had some running around to do. So me and Ashley got to walk the museum, and I don't remember it being that big. I think he's got way more stuff in it since the last time I've been in there.
Probably.
And then also the classic side, the classic car museum side of it, I don't remember it being that packed either. So it should be a good time. Yeah. And all registration, like I don't know if your dad still has a car. Obviously your Chevelle's not going to make it in time, but if he comes up and registers for the show, you get a discount to go into the museum. So.
Oh, sweet. I'll keep that in mind.
And it's all cars welcome, so I mean, you could really bring a daily if you wanted to, as long as it was cool.
Gotcha.
But so speaking of shows, what's a show or event you try to make every year?
So Turkey Rod Run is one. It's basically our family tradition. I've been going there since 2002, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, that's. Other than that, is the Tampa Lowrider Show. And that's at the Florida State Fairgrounds.
Yeah. Did you make it out to Slamfest last weekend?
I did not. I forgot that was going on because last year I heard through a guy that I know about it, and I was like, oh, snap. And then I was meaning to go, didn't make it, and then didn't realize it was this past weekend.
Well, it was supposed to be back when we got hit with the hurricane, and it got pushed because they were using the Florida State Fairgrounds as like a dumping staging point. So they pushed it to December, and that messed us up because we had planned to go because Rooster's Rod Shop does an after party, and we were going to try to make it down to that. But once they pushed the date, we had other stuff going on, and it's like, well, and plus we kind of jam-packed ourselves with car shows for the last couple of months just trying to push everything. So let's talk about Turkey Rod Run, man.
Man. So
you try to make it to any of the offshoot shows, or you more just hang out at Turkey and then Turkey Nights?
So what we normally do is last year we went to Turkey Rod Run Nights, and it was pretty cool. But normally we'll go to the show on like Friday and Saturday. And then at night we'll watch people go cruise up and down the street and get tickets.
It was bad this year. Like last year it didn't seem as bad, but this year we didn't make it to Turkey Nights. But I seen a bunch of videos, and I had a couple buddies that, yeah, man, there was cops sitting in the center, and I'm like, man, it wasn't like that last year. Like last year, they kind of let you get away with a little bit of stuff, but I guess this year they were cracking down. Although the dude that did win a bad apple, he was telling us that he got a ticket on A1A for doing a burnout under the bridge. So, he's like, I earned it.
Oh man, so yeah. So what happened was this past turkey rod run is, so we go out there and like every year we'll go and like try and get people to do burnouts. And then it was a Caddy CTSV. He lets one rip. And then there was a 56 Chevy 4-door that let one rip too. And we're like, okay, let's go. And then stuff just started popping off.
Yeah, we the Bad Apple show, the Rat Rod Bash, we always try to make that one, which Ashley actually won a Bad Apple with her 54 this year.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Awesome.
I told her last year, because last year they were, I don't know if you know, they're CNC cut apples, and last year they were red, white, and blue. Okay. And I was like, that's the only trophy. I don't care if usually when we go to shows, like, I don't care if we win a trophy. Mm-hmm. But that one, I was like, I want to win one of those. So this year, my back was fried. So I was like, I don't care how much it costs to register. We're just going to register your car. You're not going to win anything. And we registered, parked, walking around, and they called her name. And I was like, you jerk. But I'm proud of her. Oh, man. But it's every time I register, every time we register it under her name, it wins something. So I just need to stop registering it under mine. It's her car anyway.
So,
so I'm just the driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But eventually, once the Model A gets done, her car is next up on the chopping block, and it'll get an automatic and a V8, and then she'll be driving it.
Oh.
So.
Maybe a V8 with a manual. Or is that not really?
That's the current issue with it right now. So it has an S10 5-speed in it, and it still has manual linkage from 54. So the manual linkage drives fluid linkage. So it's a little sketch. And I want something in that's, every time you go out, hit the key, it's going to fire up. So it'll be something with fuel injection. Right, yeah. Either a small block with a EFI unit or, God's motor, the LS. As long as it's in a hood, I don't care if an LS motor goes in a classic car, but...
Yeah.
And then my Model A is the complete opposite. It's got an automatic in it, but it's got a tunnel ram with 2 4-barrels. So. So what's are you sticking with the original motor in the Chevelle, or?
So that motor, when my dad got it, it started out with a 350. Mm-hmm. Then it went to a 454.
Okay.
Then it went to a 454 poured over to like 462. If I remember correctly, and now it's a 496 stroker.
Okay.
It just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's what happens, man. Like, stuff happens. You gotta go bigger. Is it a 4-speed car or automatic?
So it's got a turbo 350 in it.
Okay.
That the transmission is not really rated for power that this current motor is pushing. So if there's anything that's going to go next on the car, it's probably the tranny.
Yeah. As long as you drive it sort of sensibly, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
If not, turbo 400.
Yeah, that's what I want to put in it.
Yeah. So the good thing with it being going from a 350 to a 400, they're pretty close in dimensions.
Overdrive.
Well, it's good. They're close to. They're close in dimensions, so like the trans tunnel and everything like that won't need to be like slaughtered.
Okay.
Like her car going from the manual to the automatic, I'm gonna have to slaughter her floorboard.
Yeah, you're gonna,
because it's probably gonna lay on the ground too. So, because
man,
everything looks good sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna go. The Model A I went a little overboard, ridiculous, trying to hide air suspension, and her stuff will be simple.
Mine will be a display.
Yeah, hers will be like a park and chill, which the Model A's I'm not doing. Obviously that car's never going to drag or anything like that, but we hid the air suspension in the crossmember. So,
man, I bet that was difficult.
They sell arms. But a lot of times, people will use that system on a suicide front end, so you don't have to have so much kick up. So I have 14 and the new front end is 14-inch kick up. So the front frame rails are ridiculously high. So it's only 18 in the back. So that's, dealing with that, dealing with my bullshit of doing that causes, re-engineering the frame rails to make them go where I can fit headers and
right, yeah,
trying to hide all that stuff, which if I did it again, I would probably Village Customs, they sell a cantilever front air ride and the bag just mounts on the frame and you don't have to have any kick up.
Gotcha, okay.
I probably would go that way if I was going to redo it again, but I wanted this one to be hidden, so at ride height, it'll just look like a really, really slammed Model A, and then I can air it out, and then you'll never see the air suspension because it hides in the crossmember when it's completely laid out. So
sounds like that'll be sick.
I hope so. Again, that's why stress trying to get it. I was trying to get it done for Turkey Rod Run, but it didn't work. And then I was like, oh, I'll just make it a roller for our show, and then started cutting and changing stuff, and I was like, yeah, it's not going to make it to our show either. But instead of stressing and trying to work, 2 weeks straight and no sleep and, all that, we're just like, you know what? I'm not worrying about it. We got shirts to press and koozies. Yeah. So ASC Photos, what got you interested in the photography side of the car hobby?
So when I was I want to say 8 or 9 years old is when I started actually taking pictures is when I started taking pictures out of the shows. And I was just using a camera that my dad had, and I just started getting more and more detailed with it, and it just kind of snowballed.
And then you also have the YouTube channel and stuff like that.
Yep.
So what's your favorite type of car? Whether it's, obviously you have the Chevelle. So are you kind of a muscle car guy, or is that just what was available?
So I love all cars, exotics, muscle cars, hot rods, you name it. But I tend to more gravitate towards other muscle cars, classic cars, lowriders, because that's what of the shows I went to, that's what was around there. So
yeah, we mess with old stuff, but like you said, lowriders, I'll still go check them out because the craftsmanship and the work. And
oh my goodness!
And they drive their shit. It was last year at Turkey Rod Run. There was a whole mess of 64 Impalas and old school bombs on hydraulics, and it started pouring rain, and I was like, oh, that sucks, because these are convertible cars, and they're I'm like, that sucks for them. And here they go back down the main road, hopping with the top down, bumping their music and having a good old time. I'm like, okay, well,
that's badass.
I was like, that, just that's one thing in the car culture that I would like to see more of, is people getting out and enjoying their cars. It's one thing to have a pretty car, but
driving it is a whole nother thing.
Oh yeah. And there's a whole different, which I was explaining this to, we had went to the drag strip riot, and coming back, we had a little hiccup on the car, and I had a kid that had never rode in anything old, and he rode home with me from the gas station, and he gets in and he's looking for a seatbelt. I'm like, there ain't no seatbelts, bud. I'm like, there's no airbags. We die like men in this car. And it's rattling and clunking, and you hit a bump, and that car is which we've actually lifted that car. It's actually higher than it was when we bought it, but it's lowered in the rear 6 inches. So you hit a speed bump or you hit a bump in the road, and the rear end kind of scrapes, and the axle hits the frame, and it's part of the car. And he's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "The axle bottomed out. You're fine." And he's like, oh, he's like looking for window switches. I'm like, no, it's that crank window. Like, crank it. I'm like, oh, the vent window's also a crank, so crank that too. And you just, the rattles and the smell, and, you know, even we'll go somewhere in like one of the, like either the tow pig or her daily, and you get in that car and you go drive, and it's like, that's a different smell. It's hot. Like, why is it? And it's just the car. It's just what it is, but it takes a second to like pop back into
register.
You know, it's old. You know, if it didn't leak, I'd be concerned. That means it's out. You know, like that stuff. You know, but so what is? You said you and your dad have done this together. So what is one story of either you and your dad going to a show that sticks out in your memory that's like, this is what the car culture is all about?
So, that is a very good question.
I try.
Yeah, just going to like Daytona, because Chevelle's been down to Daytona a time or two, and just like, you know, going through the exit tunnel and just hearing like the sound reverberating off the tunnel, and hearing the tires chirp as you're going uphill, and other cars behind you doing the same thing. Like, okay, this is sick. This is what it's all about.
I hope that my Model A has enough lift to go down the Turn 4 tunnel. Her car,
you'll be good. You'll be fine.
Her car can't make it. So we actually got told, absolutely not. You're not even going to try it. Which her car's still static. So I was like, it scrapes everywhere. And he's like, no, you don't understand. You're not going to make it. And I went, I'm pretty sure I could. And then we were talking to some of our buddies, and they're like, no. He's like, I got to hit it at like 35 and like jump. And I was like, oh, your stuff's higher than mine. So, but I'm hoping that the Model A's got enough lift to be able to go in there, because open lakeside pipes bouncing off that tunnel sounds like a great time.
Oh, yeah. So, I think you'll be good. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I think I should get about 6 to 7 inches of frame clearance, so it should be fine.
Yeah, that sounds like you got plenty of room to make it up there.
Ride height's right at 4 inches, so that's about middle of the travel, so we should be fine. But we'll see.
Yeah, you should be good.
We'll see. If not, I mean, it doesn't. That car's not going to really need a tunnel to be heard, so.
Yeah.
Short pipes, no mufflers, so that'd be good.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So what, you know, I don't know the background. Have you and your dad ever took a road trip to go like look at a car or pick up a car, maybe for him or?
Oh, so back when I was like, I want to say I was like in my like early teens, there was another Chevelle my dad had bought. It was a 66 convertible, but we went out to Tennessee to get it.
Okay.
It was in Nashville, Tennessee. So that car, it needed a full restoration, but when we picked it up, we had to go get tranny fluid, because when we tried to back it out of the parking lot, it wouldn't go in gear. And it was just a whole nother mess, but I'm like, hey, that's part of the fun.
Yep.
It's part of the adventure, part of the memories.
That's what we say every time we drive that car. Something goes wrong, it's like, it's a memory.
We've got quite a few of those.
That car has made it home not on a trailer every single time we've taken it, so.
Oh, wow.
And the tow pig.
Yeah, tow pig, we went to Alabama twice to go buy it.
And changed an alternator on the way home.
We did change an alternator on the way home in that
truck.
It was an adventure.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was.
Sounds like it.
I went and picked it up, or I went and looked at it, and we test drove it, and I noticed, I was like, man, the voltage is kind of low. So I told the guy, I was like, hey, check the charging system, put me in 2 batteries, and I'll buy the truck. Mm-hmm. So he did not check the charging system. He just threw 2 brand new batteries in it. So about 5 hours into our 11-hour trip, the radio shut off, and I was like, that's weird. And then the AC shut off, and I was like, that's really weird. And it's a Cummins, so it'll run. Like, It was still running. It was fine. It was just shutting everything else off that it didn't need.
Only the necessities.
And I'm like, that's weird. So we pulled up to Advanced Auto Parts in Mariana, and I said, hey, I need an alternator. So they had one in stock, got an alternator, and the truck's sitting on 37, so it's a little taller than normal. So they gave us a step ladder and rolled the toolbox out there, and we yarded the alternator off and tipped them a 12-pack of beer for their troubles, and to the rest of the way to the house we went. But that's part of it. I mean, if you that wasn't, obviously that's a newer truck. It's a 2014, so it's the newest thing in our yard. And the 54, we went to Jacksonville with it, and I was kind of hesitant to drive it that far because it's never been that far. And I had a buddy that gave me a gentle nudge and was like, what are you scared of? And I'm like, it's just never done it. And he's like, you're going to eventually have to, so you might as well drive it. And I was talking to him once we got up there, and there was no problems, and I was talking to him, and he's like, man, in 54, if they wanted to go to California and they lived in Florida, like, they just got in the car and they went. Like, they didn't worry about it.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but it's also 70 years old, bud. Like, this isn't a brand new car anymore. And like I said, it had a little hiccup coming home from the drag strip riot. I come home, got a trailer, went back, and I was like, before I load this joker on a trailer, let me just try it. And it started, so I drove it home. So luckily Ashley can drive a truck with a trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, to just add to what you were saying, people, I think they forget that back in the day, people drove these cars across the country.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you needed to get somewhere, that's what you took. There wasn't like, I'm going to take the daily. That was the daily.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I mean, her 54 gets driven quite a bit because, I drive it every time. I'm like, it's close. I work real close to the house, and she don't really ever leave the house because she works from home. Yeah. Lucky.
Gotcha.
But, so, it's all part of it. Like, we go, and like I said, we went to the Jacksonville show. We've taken it to, it actually got on the interstate for the drag strip ride. That was probably what caused its problems. I was trying to push it a little harder than it wanted to be pushed.
It threw its little hissy fit and got what it needed, and we're good to go now.
Yeah. We ran some new fuel line, and hasn't had a problem since. So it was, I don't know if you're familiar with the 235 on a 54, well, 50 to 54. They run the fuel line. It's a metal fuel line, and they run it over top the valve cover. So it gets a little warm right there.
Yeah.
So it was just vapor locking. It wasn't happy. So we ran new rubber fuel line from the pump up to, the other side of the car, and then straight to the, instead of going over the motor and running around the exhaust and the intake and all that crap.
Yeah.
Because the intake and the exhaust are on the same side. So the carburetor is going to get warm regardless because it's sitting on top of the exhaust manifold anyway. So another reason why I want that motor.
So I was listening to one of you guys' past shows. Did you guys ever figure out how the oil cap came off, or was it just a spoof?
So since we bought that car, I have always said, like, that oil cap doesn't fit like I feel like it should. It was really loose always. But I was just like, it's 70 years old. The new cap has a rubber like gasket, and I'm assuming that that's why the other one was loose, because I don't remember it having a rubber gasket. So, but it's
the rubber gasket on that one could have just disintegrated.
Yeah, it may be in the motor. Yeah, we've never taken I've never taken the valve cover off or anything like that, but yeah, it was, but again, it's 70 years old. It still has factory paint,
right? Yep.
From the body line down. The roof, I think, has been repainted. Still has a factory 235. It does have an S10 5-speed and an S10 rear end because of how low it is. But, it's pretty much, it's got the interior is pretty much the way it rolled off. It's missing like headliner and stuff like that. And then it's got
Gotcha.
It's got the Mexican blanket seat covers because the driver's seat is gone. But I think Ashley's plan is to redo the cushions in the seats and then actually upholster the seat with Mexican blankets.
Right now they're just thrown on there.
Yeah, right now it's like pinned and like alligator clipped and
staples and
and it's not good, but it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, after a pretty good drive in that car, your butt as the driver gets a little sore because it's missing quite a bit of the padding underneath you. But if you don't pick the Mexican blanket up, it doesn't bleed any more padding out, so it's all good.
Yeah. So of all the cars, what made you pick a 54 Chevy?
I hate that car.
One that
no.
Was it?
So I've always said, and this is for anybody listening that's trying to get into this is my tip to you. If you want to get into the car hobby, and I've told this to numerous people, buy a car. Doesn't really matter if it's the car you like or if the car you even like, just get something, because then you can go out to these shows, you can be a part of it. And then you can trade up or sell or like, oh, I think I like that better, and try to work towards that. A lot of times, and I'm not going to say any names, but, they think, oh, I want a 68 Lincoln Continental. Well, me too. But the way my bank account's set up is I don't have $100,000 to buy or build my Lincoln Continental. We had a little bit of money and the price was right. And I was like, well, just get this and it'll kind of get us, because I took a break from cars. My dad was into cars, similar to yours. My dad got me into cars. And then his job took him further away from home. So the classic car wasn't like the driver. So, running, I think at that time he had, I think it was a 67, 68 Malibu, Chevelle Malibu. And driving it from where we're from, an hour up the interstate every day and sitting in traffic and stuff like that just wasn't ideal. So he made the decision, family comes first. He made the decision to get rid of the car. And, he just got a normal, I think he got a Ranger or something. So we had kind of gotten out of the classic cars. And then we built a little drag car, a little drag S10, campaigned it a little bit, a little V8, small tire. There wasn't really big tire stuff back then. It was mostly small tire, 8th mile stuff. And then, I was a teenager and I figured out what girls were, and I didn't show as much attention to the truck as I should have. And so he traded it away, which, we do a lot of trading. So he traded it away and then traded that for bikes, and we got more into the bike side. So for my 19th birthday, I bought myself a Harley bagger. I still have it. Hit a deer with it. It's been redone 2 or 3 times. And then, we were just doing bike stuff, and, I've always had a passion for classic cars. Like if I seen one, I'd always go check it out. I'd talk to them, but it was never like, the way my bank account's set up is I can really, until I met Ashley, it was kind of one toy at a time. If I wanted a car, I'd have had to get rid of the bike, or if I wanted a side by side, I'd have to get rid of this to get that. It was it's always been that way. So when me and Ashley got together, I kind of told her, like, listen, like, I'm not in a real good space, but working on stuff kind of takes that pain away. So if you want to hang out with me, it's probably going to be in a garage. So she was like, cool. I always wanted to be in the garage. So I was like, well, your hands are smaller than mine. They fit in better places and you have more patience than me. So you're hired. Come on. And so I wanted, at the time, the bike had a Batwing fairing. It was an electric glide standard that I made into a street glide, and I wanted a road glide. So went to Harley, and I was like, hey, yeah, I really want a road glide, but I didn't want to pay what they wanted for one. So I was like, well, I'll just convert this one. And I had the idea for a while, and I just never pulled the trigger on it. So me and Ashley met, and, I'm telling her this. I'm like, yeah, I really want a road glide, but like, I don't want to pay at that time, like 26 to 30 grand for a motorcycle. And,
oh, wow. Yeah, that's...
and I've had this one since I was 19. Bunch of old ladies, a deer, couple different iterations, didn't really want to get rid of it. So Ashley's like, well, why don't we just convert yours? You said you can convert it. And I'm like, yeah, we can. And she's like, well, let's do it. So we ordered the parts and started tearing it apart in the one-car garage that I had at the time. And she sat in front of the bike with the Harley Bible and told me what wires to cut and which wires needed to be extended and where this gauge needed to go. And we put it together. And I now have a road glide. So we sold that house, and we lived in a camping trailer for 2.5 years in my mom and dad's backyard.
Wow.
And was going to try to build like a barn dominium house, more shop than house. But I knew I wanted to get back into cars. And so we ended up finding a temporary house to get just back into something, so we didn't live in a camping trailer anymore. And, just like every other car guy, I'm on Marketplace, and I find this 54 Chevy. And it's patina, which I'm not a shiny paint guy. So patina, a little bit of rust, original-ish, be cool. So I told Ashley, I said, let's go look at this car. So we went and made a deal on the car. And Ashley's like, I had went to Turkey Rod Run the year before, and I'd bought a Ratfink shirt. And on the back of that shirt is a orange 54 Chevrolet with the license plate soon to be. So it was destiny that I was buying, and I was wearing the shirt at the time. So we load the car up, we bring it home. Man. We bring the car home, and it was, I immediately tell Ashley, I said, hey, your friend has a Cricut machine, cut me out a for sale or trade sticker. Like, I like the car, but, let's start trading up or trading across or whatever. So the car is patinaed, it's rusty, didn't really get a whole lot of baths, didn't really get a whole lot of attention. Like I said, we lifted it. I put stock springs back in the front because it's got lower arms.
Okay.
Lifted it so me and her could actually ride in it together without it scraping, and did exhaust gaskets. And, Ashley was in there with me, busted a nail off, bleeding all over the car, cussing at it, walks away, comes back. And I'm like, all right, you figured it out. Like, if you come back out here because you want to work on it again, like, you figured out what cars are all about now. So we were washing it, getting ready for our cruising, and I was still in work clothes, so I'm just being the hose off guy. And I'm looking at this car, and I'm like, this is the ugliest car I've ever seen in my entire life. Why would anybody want this car? And Ashley's like, it's got a face only a mother can love, and I like it. And I was like, all right, well, it's your car then. Because I knew I was going to build a Model A. I wanted a Model A. So I was like, if you want the car, fine, it's yours. We'll build my Model A, and then, we'll go through this car. So I never really, I like the car, don't get me wrong. But, it just, it doesn't really, it didn't really, oh my God, I have to have this car. And then when it won the bad apple at Turkey Rod Run this year, I was like, oh, fuck, we got to keep it now. Because I've still been trying, even after it was her car, I was still like, you sure you don't want a C10 or
yeah,
you want to do something different? But it is a cool car. And with classic cars, as you know, like you pull into a gas station and it's a car show,
it's a bunch of people are like, oh, hey, I had one.
Yep.
Oh, hey, what?
Exactly.
Like, what year is it? Yeah.
So
that kind of thing.
I actually had that car traded. I was headed to, I loaded the car up. I was going to take it to Titusville to go trade for an F100, my birthday. And the guy calls me and he's like, hey man, my wife made plans. I didn't know about them. I can't meet you. I'm like, all right, no big deal. It was the night before my birthday. So I was like, I'll just unload it. Told Ashley, so me and you will go to breakfast. And there's a Market of Marion up in Ocala. There's a little car show. We'll just roll in there. It's going to be shiny cars, but whatever. Like, so we roll in, and as we're turning in, this guy flips around, connected to your photos. He snaps a picture of us, and Ashley goes, that dude just took a picture of us. And I was like, yeah. She goes, that's cool. And I was like, you're hooked. You're never getting out of cars. Like, this is what it's all about. Mm-hmm. So we're backing in, and, like I said, dude, there's not even anything there that you would like fake patina. It was all shiny stuff. And
legit.
Literally as soon as we shut the car off, it was like zombies just walking towards the car. And I'm like, they're going to tell us like, get out, don't park next to their cars. Mm-hmm. Like the rust might hop over or something. But everybody's like, oh man, is that a 54? Yeah. Oh, my dad had one, or my grandpa used to let us drive one around the farm, or I took my wife to ice cream, or, all these stories that, and it's, it was an older crowd, mm-hmm. but like all these stories of identifying with the car, people see a Chevelle, mm-hmm. a buddy in high school had one. Or, every, new cars don't evoke an emotion. Whereas classic cars,
right? Yeah. They do.
Yes. Everyone can, even if they're not car people, my grandpa had one that looked like that. They might not know it's the mm-hmm. same year, but it's that mm-hmm. same era. Whereas a new car, and I'm not trying to shit on new cars, but like, yeah, if you see one brand new Mustang or brand new Camaro or a Charger or a Challenger mm-hmm. or any of them, the next one that rolls by is just a different color.
Yeah.
They don't have a whole lot of soul. And that's kind of what drives me to the builds that we kind of focus on. The more grunge, hood rat, hot rods. I want to paint one of the, Ashley's got 9 teeth on her grill. 54's got 5 originally. She's got 9. So I want to take the third tooth over from the right and paint it gold.
Well, that'll look sick.
Just something to like, because it's cool. It's different.
It's really going to have a face only a mother could love.
I like it better with that. If you let me paint that grill white and we do one gold tooth, that'd be awesome.
That sounds sick, actually.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to incorporate one gold bar in the 50 or in the 29 too.
Oh, you got to.
I'm gonna, you get. I was talking to a kid today, and it was kind of like his is art, and Johnny Jalopy designed our show logo for the hangout. And mm-hmm. when we approached him, he was like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, I want you to design a logo. I like your style. I don't want to give you input. I want you to make me a logo that's your style, because I don't want, and I was telling him, like, you go, if you want a heavily chopped Model A or a 32, you go to mm-hmm. Rolling Bones, because they're going to do the salt flats, 2-inch windshields. If you want a real traditional build, you're going to have Zach Parks work on your car with Wired Customs. If you want a crazy custom, you might call Voodoo Larry or Johnny Chop mm-hmm. or Roosters down in Tampa. Like, they build really, really high class, traditional-ish builds. You know, but you don't go to Zach Parks and tell him you want to put an LS in it. And it's the same with us. Like, I want somebody to see the car, if we did get rid of the 54, 5 years down the road, I want somebody to see that gold tooth and be like, I wonder if that was the Hot Rod Hangout guys. Kind of something to identify, because the rat rod stuff has gotten a little out of hand. I like rat rods in the Hot Rod magazine version of a rat rod. When they first coined that term, it was an unfinished hot rod. It was either a primered hot rod or a no paint hot rod or something like that. Now it's turned into like, let me weld this shittily or spider webs or that stuff. Like, I appreciate it. I'll still walk around the truck and find the little Easter eggs, but that's not really my style. The same with lowriders. I love a lowrider, but I'm probably not going to build one. Although the Model A almost did end up on hydraulics for like a month.
Oh man.
I had a kid that I went to school with, and he moved out west, and everything he had when he was here was air ride. When he went out there, everything's on hydraulics. And so when I was talking to him and, I was running it by a couple buddies, like, hey, this is what I want to try to do. And he was like, man, do hydraulics. And I was like, dude, I don't want to hop a 29 Model A. And he was like, no, dude, they make park and chill setups. Like, you don't need all those batteries and all those pumps, but it doesn't make sound going down, but it sounds like a transformer going up. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And then I'm like, but it rides like shit. And he had an answer for that. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, but how am I going to hide cylinders? And he was like, they make them that have eye bolts. So it just looks like your shock. So you just mount them in your shock holes. And I was like, what? Okay. Yeah, so let's do this. But he got busy, and I'm like, I don't know enough about hydraulics. I'll have that jugger like hopping or something, and I'll be thinking I'm going down, and it'll be like Skyway bridging or something, So it's like, yeah, let's not do that. I know air ride a little bit. Let's just stick with what I know. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to hide it. And that blew that all out of the water. Everything I knew about air ride went out the window. But it'll be cool when it's done. And like I said, I'm going to do some B-roll. And so by the time we do her car, I'll be a little bit better at it. And her interior will be cool. And my Model A will be semi-cool. No, it'll be cool because I'll keep redoing it until I get it right.
I was going to say.
So what is like a bead rolling? Is that like have to do with the interior or?
So there's a whole bunch of bead dies. Here's your tech tip on the podcast. So there's 1/4 inch, there's 3/8, there's 1/2 inch, there's different steps. So it's basically so you can take a thin sheet metal, whether it's aluminum, whether it's thin steel, whatever, and like if you were to hold it straight out, it would bend. So bead rolling shrinks metal, and it makes a design. So
okay.
So like I'm trying to think of somebody that would I don't know if you walked around. Did you see the Model A Mafia guys that was parked over by Turn 4?
Man.
It was a Raptor-lined Model A. Or no, he wasn't parked over there with them. But Ed Rat, so you can do like quilt stitching. You can do just lines. You can raise up. Okay. A lot of times you can put like a joggle. So if you're going to weld two panels together, you joggle one panel, and it gives you enough room to slide the other panel in, and it's still flush. So when you lay your bead down, you're not trying to like smooth out a barrier. You're level. You're just trying to get your weld back smooth. So there's a lot of different ways, and it makes the panel strong. So you can take like a 18 or 20 gauge steel panel and make it as strong as like a 12 or 10 or 12 panel, depending on how you bead roll it.
Oh, wow.
So it just adds strength. So you don't have to, and And a lot of people do like door panels. So the Model A will get, it's a 4-door, but it's only going to have 2 doors. So it'll get door panels, and then where the back doors, there's some of the back door exposed, it'll be bead rolled, and then behind the seats will be bead rolled. And then the back little like package tray area, I'll do some bead rolling up there, and I'm gonna bead roll everything. I'm gonna bead roll myself because it's awesome. And when it looks good, or like when you do it correctly, it looks killer. And I'll shoot you some links. Jamie Johnson, Carl Fisher, Make It Custom. I don't know if you've seen his Dodge. That's bead rolling on his door panels. The guy that shoots flames, the Sonic movie, his truck was in the Sonic movie.
Oh.
So the Dodge pickup truck that's shooting flames.
Oh, yeah, I remember what you're talking about. That's his?
Yes. So he built both of those flamethrower systems. So the Model A, which is next to him, the Roadster, it's a touring Roadster, and then his truck, he built the flame systems for both of them. Those are standalone fuel and spark. So the cars can just sit there idling, and they'll basically burn fuel with flames until they run out of gas. So yeah, it's just kind of another way to decorate, but also strengthen a panel.
Gotcha.
So go ahead and shout out your, all your socials for the ASC Auto and all that.
So it's my Instagram is ASC Automotive Photos, and then same as on YouTube and TikTok also.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
If you go to our TikTok, you can watch a burnout and some flamethrowers.
Oh, sweet.
All the Bad Apple Show stuff.
Oh, man. It's funny because when I was posting burnout videos on TikTok, TikTok was saying like I was violating their guidelines by posting those videos. I'm like, what?
You have to check the box. You have to check the box that says that this was performed by a professional on a closed course.
Oh, okay.
Or
I didn't know.
And you'll also get a little tag at the bottom that says like this could result in injury or death, yada yada yada.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. Yeah, there's ways around it. So we'll put that in the show notes. Is there one more question. What's one piece of advice that you would give somebody trying to get into either the car scene or car photo?
So as far as the car scene goes, I mean, like start out with what you can, and then just work your way up. Because some people, they may not be able to right away get a Chevelle or a Camaro or a Model A as their project car. They may only be able to afford, say, like a Honda but the thing is that you're getting in like the whole scene.
Yep.
So as long as you start out and just work your way up, the hard work will pay off.
Except for
when it's all
trucks.
About
don't buy a squatted truck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was going to do that to my Dodge Dakota, and I don't know what. Thankfully, I didn't because it's now illegal.
Yeah. A little bit of squat's fine. Like my Dodge sits about 2 inches lower.
I know that's
But like these guys that like slam their rear end on big wheels and then
jack
the front end up. I'm like, my Dodge is hard enough to see over the hood. I don't need to add any. So, do you got anybody that you'd like to shout out before we run through our sponsors?
Oh man, so yeah, there's a guy in my area. His name is, you might know him. His name's Chad. He has a 51 Suburban.
No, but I'd need to know him.
His name's Chad Fisher.
Okay, I'll check him out.
And then another guy I would like to shout out is Blue Holbert. He's got a gorgeous 61 Impala lowrider. And I want to shout out who else? I want to shout out a good friend of mine, Billy Tregilis, who he actually, are you guys familiar with the Street Charger in lowriders?
Yes.
He actually invented that.
Oh, shit.
But he unfortunately passed, so I always want to pay my respects to him because I knew him since I was a kid. So,
of course, that'd have been a good person to have on, but it'd be a little hard to talk to him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he was into every Star Wars, like even making like costumes for like Star Wars and comic books and everything.
I think I might have heard something on him. I don't know, but yeah, when I went down the hydraulic rabbit hole, I remember checking out the Street Charger.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, make sure you go show BP Custom some love on Facebook.
Be sure to check out Throttle Addict using the code word HOTROD for 15% off.
Make sure you go show Johnny Jalopy some love. Facebook, YouTube, JohnnyJalopy.com.
And Low Income Clothing and Low Income Photos, also Brahmagan Media. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram.
And make sure you go show Wrenching for the Future some love on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
And Ty Blends from Top Notch Barber Studio. Check him out on Instagram, or you can also book him through Booksy.com. Ty Blends 1, the number 1 after.
All right. Make sure you go show some support to Rat Rod's Woodfire Pizza. Facebook, ratrodswoodfirepizza.com. Rudy's Delicious Dogs. You can check him out on Google. And Donut Envy of Gainesville on Facebook and Instagram. And those will be our food vendors for January 4th, The Hangout at Big Daddy Don Garlett's. Unfortunately, you can't pre-register, but you are more than welcome to show up day of. All cars are welcome. We'll have a 50-50 benefiting the Ryland Strong Network, a raffle. All profit goes to the Ryland Strong Network. We will have some merch. If you pre-registered, get a goodie bag. All car show entries gets a discount to go check out the museum. Make sure you go show him some love. And who knows? He may be hanging around that day. You might get to meet Big Daddy.
Heck yeah.
And that's the only dates that you need to know about.
Mm-hmm.
I hope y'all had a wonderful Merry Christmas. And till next time, guys, get out and drive your shit.
See ya.
Later.